Hi, this is Lori Johnson with Hancock Whitney Bank, and you're listening to Local Leaders, the podcast. Visit localleadersthepodcast.com for previous episodes or for information on appearing on the show.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Local Leaders of the Podcast. And look, I have a lot of leaders on this show, as y'all know, but the woman sitting across from me today is someone that I would say not only is born and bred right here in Livingston Parish, but she has done a lot for this parish. And one of those things we're going to talk about in detail today, and that is the Livingston Executive Airport. So first of all, welcome Miss Delia Taylor to Local Leaders of Podcast.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that.
You know, y'all, we visited a little bit before this show just now, and I can't believe this is the first time we've had a good opportunity to sit down and talk for a few minutes, because I've watched as this lady has done so many great things for the parish, the Livingston Executive Airport. So we're going to give you information on that today, talk about some facts with you, and hopefully if some of you out there are not up to speed on the advantages of that and what's going on with it, where are we at with it, we'll be able to clarify those things. But before we do, I want to pat her on the back a little bit and just give you a little bit of information on her background. She is born and bred right here in Livingston Parish, lived out in Livingston area.
Big Doyle High grad.
Go Doyle Tigers.
Fighting Tigers.
Yeah, there you go. And you left there, you went to LSU, and you actually played for the Lady Tigers.
I did.
Yeah, and that was from 84 to 86.
Yeah.
Elite Eight, didn't they make it to the Elite Eight?
We did, and we made it to the Elite Eight. This was before they really structured the regional play like they do now.
Yeah.
They happened to put LSU, Georgia, Tennessee, and Iowa together in Iowa. So basically we knocked each other out. But we lost to Tennessee by 2 points and missed the Final Four by 2 points.
Who was the coach at Tennessee then?
Pat Head Summit. Head Summit.
Gosh, she was so good. And you played for what coach?
Sue Gunner.
Yeah, another.
Again, Hall of Fame,
historic Hall of Fame
Naismith
coach.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You know, Coach Gunner's statistics, if you ever have a chance to visit that museum, they'll have an asterisk by her name because they know she has more wins than what's recorded, because she coached at a time when women's basketball was not on the radar, if you will. It was not recorded.
Yeah.
So she was a pioneer for the sport. She really moved it forward for a lot of young ladies to be able to play today. And man, to think about where it was then, and now we have the Caitlin Clarks and the Angel Reeses of today, and we've come a long way, baby.
A long way. And so you have undertaken something for quite a while with a board, and that is this airport. And I guess maybe first where we can start is, how did this come to fruition? When was it first kind of talked about, and how did it build into what it is now?
Sure. Well, the council created the Livingston Parish Airport District in 2016, and that's when I was appointed along with the other board members. But the concept and the effort to bring an airport to Livingston started well beyond that. Yeah. You really should back up as far as maybe 2004, when you had some local business guys and others who were looking at, could we bring an airport here? Where would we do it? How could we do this? And they began the discussion. That led eventually into some funding around 2010, 2011. Senator Dale Erdy was at the legislature at that time. He was able to secure some money then to do an initial master plan and to determine if Livingston could be a site for a general aviation airport. And so that study was done, and they actually looked at 3 sites. The FAA or no one wants you to just pick one site.
Yeah.
They want you to see, are there other alternatives? Or what do you really have the best option here? And at the time, they chose 3 sites that they looked at. One was a little farther north, closer to what is now where LIGO is. And because of that research facility, that was not a good location. The second location was north of the interstate, again, just kind of north of Satsuma in the Walker area. It was too close to the waste management site to the sanitation landfill. And a lot of sanitation landfills draw birds, and bird strikes are very serious issues in aviation. Now, it's my understanding that Waste Management uses some techniques to minimize that, but, the FAA was still saying, no, it's not going to work. Yeah. So then that meant the third site that they were looking at, and that was south of the interstate in the Satsuma area. And so they determined that was a great location, very rural, not a lot of houses there, and again, a good location. And at the time, Weyerhaeuser owned that property, and a lot of us are from the area, know about Weyerhaeuser. Oh, yeah. They managed a lot of forest timberland for years throughout that area, and it was a very active site. They were cultivating it for profit at the time. So again, what I'm trying to say is that property had value. And so when they looked at that site and tried to determine, well, we could put an airport there, it had a price tag on it. And Weyerhaeuser was not giving it away, and the parish did not have the money to buy the land. So then 2011 comes, it goes, the study comes, it goes, it sits, right, until 2016. What happens in 2016, before the flood, by the way? Mr. Gary Lewis, a developer, very, very wealthy, very good businessman, bought up a lot of property in that area. And he began to hear the rumors and whatnot that, hey, Livingston's looking at wanting to put an airport out there, and began talking to our leaders at that time. Conversation sprung up. Hey, Mr. Gary, do you think you would give us some land for that? Well, he said, yeah.
Wow.
And we were very fortunate that not only it's huge. Not only is he a developer and a businessman and capable of giving that type of donation, but he was an aviator in the war and still loves to fly today. So he had a love for the industry. And so then there we are. And that's when the council created the Livingston Parish Airport District and said, hey, we think Mr. Gary will give you some land. Go figure it out. And that's how we started.
There you go. And look, no easy task. Now you have the land, but you've got to implement a lot of things along the way. And I guess before we go any further, maybe let's explain what the difference is between a general aviation airport and Baton Rouge's Metro Airport, for example.
Sure, because most of us are not familiar with general aviation airports. If we fly, we're going to Baton Rouge, New Orleans, certainly going through it, Atlanta, Dallas, that sort of thing. So we're very familiar with the larger airports. That is not what this is going to be. It is a general aviation airport. The technical description would be this, that we would not have scheduled flights. Again, think about it. You pull up a schedule online and you book your flight. They have them at 10 a.m., at noon, whatever time it may be. You're able to book a scheduled flight each day of the week, however it may work.
Right.
GA airports do not have scheduled flight service. That doesn't mean they don't have services for hire. You could hire a charter flight or something like that, but they do not have scheduled air flights. The other thing is we don't have the big guys. So the airports, again, that we're familiar with, the Baton Rouges and the New Orleans, have the larger 747s and those type of aircraft and large cargo aircraft and large military aircraft.
Sure.
We're in the middle. We have the single prop, single engine planes. We have the twin engines. And we do have some corporate jets, 16-seaters, if you will, the King Air jets. So we're in the middle. And we obviously could reach down to the even smaller if we needed to, but the little guys who tend to do the experimental type stuff, they try to even get off on a grass runway and get away from everybody.
Yeah. There you go. And so that hopefully that'll answer some questions there. Now, we're one of only 2 parishes, I believe it is, that don't have an airport.
That's right. It's just us and St. Helena. Not only are we one of only 2. But we're the fastest growing parish.
Yeah.
For how many years?
The last 20 years.
The last 20
several.
years. So exactly. So it's not just that we're in this unfortunate category with just 2 parishes, but when you look at the fact that we have been the fastest growing now for 20 years, it's almost absurd to think that we do not have this leg of transportation. Yeah. When you look at land-based multimodal transportation that we need for commerce, first of all, roads.
Yeah.
We have to have that. We know we don't have sufficient infrastructure there, that needs to be proved. Rail. We have a major rail line that runs through us that contributes tons of money to our commerce, but we're missing air.
Yeah.
And we need that. Obviously, other communities further south of here would have ports. In fact, we do have, when you start to get out toward Port Manchac, which is actually in Tangipahoa, huge industry, a lot of commerce for that parish. We don't have that access, but we do have potential for, obviously, road, rail, and air.
Yeah, and you brought up growth, and we're the fastest growing parish in the state and have been for quite a while. But let's talk about growth for a second, because one thing interesting about this particular project and another project, pick your project, but may have the same economic impact, is that this doesn't have the impact on the infrastructure or the schools that those other programs might have.
You're exactly right. Really, for us as a parish, this is a win-win project. We don't have the downside that when we bring this industry here, we're not going to negatively impact our school system.
Yeah.
No impact on our school system. We're not even going to negatively impact our roadway.
Right.
Think about what we're saying here. When we are bringing some other businesses and industry here, we still have to get to them via road. That's not the case here. We're talking about air travel. So we don't have that level of negative impact. I think the other thing we need to realize is this is a clean industry.
Yeah.
We're not talking, again, about another waste management or a polluter of that sort. We're talking about a clean industry here that does not have an impact on any rooftops. We're not bringing the rooftops here. We're not impacting the road. We do not have a noise impact. We've done noise studies, and that information has been provided through public meetings. But when you look at the bell curve and you look at the layout of the noise, it really doesn't leave our property. You would have to be standing on the edge of the airport property to hear it, and it's going to sound like a lawnmower for maybe 10 seconds during takeoff of a larger plane.
That's it. And that's really hard to beat. Now, just to get into the economic impact, one thing that I found interesting when I was looking at the stats that you supplied at the Livingston Chamber meeting was that for every dollar spent, you're getting back $2.53 in economic impact money. So basically that, people think about it this way: for every $100,000 out, you're getting $253,000 back. If anybody would want to borrow that from me right now, give me back $253,000, you got it.
Yeah, I would love those odds and those numbers.
Yes,
and anything.
that's a great investment.
It is.
And it is a beautiful thing for our economy, in my opinion. Now, another thing with the economic impact is obviously what is it going to bring in the way of jobs and things of that nature.
The state has looked at the average for general aviation airports, and the numbers jump out pretty considerably. I think we talked about it earlier, as much as a well over $15 million impact, even for some of the smaller airports.
Yes.
So the jobs that we're talking about, you certainly have those direct jobs. That would be pilots themselves, instructors, aviation instructors, mechanics, any type of service, avionics, those that have to deal with all the instruments that are now in planes. Then beyond that, you have delivering clients, transporting goods, moving any type of clientele. You have that service. But then we have the extended services, right? The indirect services that go beyond just immediately impacting aviation. It's how others benefit from having an airport. I think the best example is when I found out the last airport that was built in Louisiana was Louisiana Regional. That's the one in Gonzales.
Okay.
And when they were building, and there's going to be almost 40 years has passed before a new airport is going to be, which will be us, of course. But one of the first people to land at that airport, Mr. Tanger. Does that name ring a bell?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
so when Mr. Tanger was trying to decide where he was going to put his next outlet mall, he wanted to have an area where he could fly in, check on his investment, manage his property, manage his employees, and then get back to wherever home is.
Yeah.
So you and I don't need an airport to go to the Tanger outlet mall.
Right.
That is an indirect impact because the investor wanted it. The investor needed it. Now, think about the jobs that were created there indirectly because aviation provided an added amenity for that area to attract that investor.
And the sales tax dollars and all those things that go along with it.
Well,
and
if you know, Jim, like at that chamber meeting, you had the mayor of Livingston stand up. He had been working several years with a water bottling company. They had whittled down their site selection to 2 sites, and Livingston was one of those.
Yeah.
We lost because we don't have an airport.
Because
they went to Robert, Louisiana, because it's near that Hammond Airport.
Yeah, yeah. So that's another reason, and something I know that it's the average person. They look at that and they say, maybe I don't have a plane, or I don't have a need for that. But these executives do, and with those executives come opportunity. And also another thing that people may not be considering is the advantages to disaster response and things of that nature, law enforcement, emergency services. An airport could make all the difference in the world in a life-saving situation.
Well, definitely. I think too many of us still remember the flood of 2016. Yeah. And the town of Livingston in that area was an island at the time. We were flooding from the Amite. We were flooding from the Tangipahoa. You couldn't get to us. I mean, we were stuck. That property where the airport's going to be was above ground in 2016. That says volumes right there.
Yes.
But to be able to bring in emergency response in a situation like that, you had delay getting goods and getting services and getting just foot soldiers on the ground, in because you had to wait for water to recede in certain areas. Well, if you can bring them in via air and get them into the center of your parish and then disperse out from that, obviously that speaks volumes. But then day to day, I don't think people realize how much our rivers are patrolled by our law enforcement, by wildlife and fisheries, and how there are responses that have to take place there. And you're talking about a 30-minute difference to get from Baton Rouge to Lake Maurepas, say from Livingston to get to Lake Maurepas and the waters here. We're very fortunate that our sheriff does have a helicopter and is able to make those type responses. But even a fixed wing airplane decreases the cost for them and can be just as efficient in monitoring, again, in an emergency, even monitoring escape or a flight where you have a car chase or something.
Yeah.
So aviation can be used in a lot of ways for that we certainly see as a huge benefit down the road.
Yeah. You serve on a board. Tell us about the board. How has the process came along as far as the challenges are concerned, I guess I'm trying to say.
So the board was created in 2016. Mm-hmm. There are 9 members. Yeah. The members are appointed by, there are, I think, 4 that are appointed by the council.
Okay.
There's 1 by the parish president. I'm actually the parish president's appointee.
Yeah.
Then there's someone from the sheriff's office, someone from Fire District 4, and then our state rep and our state senator have appointments. So those are the 9 appointees. That's who makes the appointments, and then they serve in staggered terms.
Yeah.
So that's how we came to be.
Are they volunteer appointments?
Oh, totally volunteer. Nothing's paid at all.
That's a lot of work. So you got to love your parish to be doing that.
Yeah, again, I think if I'd have really known what the magnitude of this task back in 16, I probably wouldn't have signed on.
Thank God you did.
But it's just one of those things that as I know we've gotten involved and we see the potential and we see what's happening elsewhere, we're like, we got to have this.
Yeah.
This is too good not to have for Livingston. And every time we visit somewhere, we're like, why not Livingston?
Yes.
Why not us? We deserve to have tax dollars invested in our parish. We deserve to have airline fees reinvested in our parish. We deserve to have investors come into our parish and create good paying jobs for our kids. We need new career opportunities for our kids. So 100%. Why not Livingston?
Why not Livingston? And I'm 100% with you on that. And you brought up career opportunities, and there are a lot in that industry. And look, shout out to Live Oak High School, who has a aviation program
That's right.
At their STEM center, I believe.
That's right.
And Walker, I know, is planning on some opportunities. Southeastern at Livingston's, what's right next to them?
Yeah, their Literacy and Technology
Yeah.
Center. But you also have the North Shore Technical College right there.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the things we've realized is when the education community is starting to invest in certain careers, it's because they're looking at trends and they're looking at opportunities and they're wanting their students to be able to leave their campus and start something even better, right? So Live Oak has already opened a STEM center there, and aviation is a huge part of it. They already have 60 kids enrolled in the aviation curriculum.
Yeah.
We've been talking to Walker about providing an actual pilot school. These kids can go through their entire ground school as a course, and then maybe work in their extra hours to take some flight time and get their pilot certification.
Yeah.
At the same time, we got North Shore Technical College has talked to our legislative leaders about adding an aviation curriculum there as we open our airport.
Yeah.
We know that Baton Rouge Community College has an aviation mechanics curriculum. That is at the campus just north of Central, closer to Baker. If you go up above Lovett Road, that's where it's located. And I'm going to tell you, a hidden treasure nationally is Louisiana Tech. They have an outstanding aviation engineering program that's one of the best in the country. So we have the educational resources within arm's reach.
Yes.
We just need the facility now to take full advantage of that.
I agree 100%. My dream for this parish, for as long as I can remember, was I wanted to see Livingston Parish get away from a bedroom community and be to where you not only live in Livingston Parish, but you work there, you sleep there, you play there, and all those sorts of things. And these type of projects enable that to be a possibility. Hey, if you want to be an airplane mechanic, you can work right here in Livingston Parish at that airport, and that can be your job, and you can live here and you can spend all your time here and not have to cross that bridge. That's a beautiful thing. And another little fun fact here that I picked up doing some research on this is the number one job in the United States for non-4-year degreed people. So if you had a 2-year degree, for example, associate's degree, is air traffic controller. The entire United States, $134,000 a year starting pay. So not only is the aviation industry something that is advantageous from a standpoint of tax dollars and things like that you get coming in, but it's also advantageous as careers for people and options. And if you're in the aviation industry, it's because you love it. You love to fly, or you love to work on planes and things like that. We need to give our people an opportunity to do that.
And typically we find that careers within that field are high paying. Why?
Yes.
Because it's serious. Let's be honest. If the mechanic not that the mechanic on your car is not expensive as well, at least mine are.
Yeah,
but,
mine too.
But yeah, if the car breaks down, somebody can come pick you up over on Airline Highway or wherever it is that you are. That doesn't work in airplanes. Okay,
Right.
We know how serious that has to be and how good you have to be, and make sure that you check all the boxes there. So it's a very high-paying industry. There's a shortage in a lot of the areas. So there's real opportunities for our kids.
There really is. And look, I've looked over this project from top to bottom. It is impossible for me to find a negative to this. I don't think we would ever have this opportunity again. I think it's something that, there's certain times in life where you have the right people in the right place at the right time, and something happens that's really difficult to achieve. I see that with this project. Y'all have done just a phenomenal job on it. Now, you got the 242 acres. The drainage studies are all done, I would imagine, by now. The layout plans, all those sorts of things. You've even designed the build out for it already. So what's the estimated time to completion, I guess you could say? But do you have an estimated time that, hey, we're going to have planes on the ground at this point?
Wow, that's the loaded question, right? Everything takes time and money.
Sure.
That's the answer to every question out there is time and money. I will tell you this, where we are and what we're anticipating, at least in the short run. So we have begun advertising for our civil construction, our clearing of the land, our grubbing. We're going to be moving dirt. We're going to be creating drainage retention and proper drainage, creating, if you will, the foundations for the infrastructure that will be there, which mainly is a runway and an apron. So that is being advertised right now. We're anticipating getting those bids in June.
Yeah.
We're anticipating getting the state to approve. Everything that we do is not just approved at a local level. It has to be approved at the state level as well, because that's where our funding is from.
Sure.
Also understand this. DOTD Aviation looks over our shoulders and makes sure that all of our plans are in line with what is expected by FAA to make sure that we're meeting FAA specs. So we're hoping that to be approved July. We're hoping to start some construction. You're going to see some bulldozers and such out there late July, early August. So that'll be the first thing, clearing out some land. We have money that's been awarded to us also in Priority 1 funding through the state.
Oh, wonderful.
That will become reality in just maybe the next 36, 72 hours, whatever it may be, when they finalize this legislative session. Yeah. That money will go through a bonding process. We anticipate that being a couple of months. We're already beginning to look at the scope of work and what we can do with that money, and we are looking at probably contracting that out and having that done in place this fall so that when the dollars are there and we've done the beginning dirt work, that we can start on the runway, and I'm anticipating that we would probably start early 2025. We do have some other funding, what I call in the vending machine, that the state understands that they're giving us money now. It's not enough. We're going to need more, but they're spacing it out because we can't spend it all in 1 year either. Right. So they're spacing that out. So, if all that funding comes through and we keep working both with DOTD Aviation and with facility planning on the type of funding, we're very hopeful that we could have a runway in place by 2026.
Wow. And a long time in the making,
as
they
has
say.
Been.
Oh,
it has been.
But I cannot think of a better thing for this parish. And you said it earlier. Why not Livingston Parish?
Let me say this, Jim. I understand there may be people out there that you don't care about aviation. You don't want to fly. I got it.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with that. But there are going to be those who love this because they may want to be in aviation. They're an aviator. They may want to fly. They may want to work on planes. They may want to be in that career field. So for them, this is an immediate and has a direct impact. For most of us out here, don't have airplanes, never care to fly. What you have to realize is this is an economic engine for us.
Yes. It's not about
having
somewhere to park a plane.
Right. It's not that we're going to have thousands and thousands of people flying airplanes. It's that we're going to create thousands and thousands of dollars in our economy that's paying for our schools, paying for our roads, paying for things that we do need. Yes, it's offering great opportunities, and you may never care about those opportunities. But in the meantime, it's a revenue-generating source that is clean industry.
Yeah.
It's in a very rural setting. We are not impacting the schools. We are not impacting the roads. And our return on dollars invested
it's huge.
Is huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's like I've told people, you may not have an airplane, but I bet you don't own a rail car or a train engine either.
Right.
But we have a major rail line that runs through this parish that contributes millions to our economy, our local economy. It's a huge part of our commerce.
Absolutely.
Same thing with this airport. You may never fly. You may never step foot on that property, but it will generate opportunities for this parish for years to come.
Years to come, and it's a long time coming, as we said. One more question for you. Why do you do this? Why? This is not. I'm going to help my neighbor build a fence. I mean, this is something that has required a lot of you and a lot of the people that have assisted you. Why? Why do it?
You know, when I was first asked, I looked at it because I do fly. I've gone to several general aviation airports, and I've seen the positive impacts that they have on those communities, and I've seen the commerce that goes through in the business. And I thought, wow, we need that.
Yeah.
We need that. So, yeah, why are we stuck with it? Because the potential is there. The promise is there. You know, this is going to be something that helps my kids stay in Livingston Parish.
Yes.
It's going to help. So my grandkids are here one day. And that if your grandkids want to fly or be a mechanic, or again, if they want to have nothing to do with aviation, but they want to get a job because those involved with aviation are buying at your business. They're buying at your restaurant. They're buying at your gas station. They're going to your dry cleaner. They're buying at your local Napa Auto Parts. It doesn't matter. We want the business here. I've heard people say, well, you can go to Baton Rouge and you can go to Hammond. Yeah.
Yeah.
And your dollars go to Baton Rouge and your dollars go to Hammond.
That's right.
And when you follow that philosophy, make sure you buy your lawnmowers from the Home Depot in Baton Rouge or from the hardware store in Hammond. Go buy gas over on Sherwood Forest or over in the middle of Hammond. It's the same philosophy. You can, but your dollars follow.
That's right.
What we want are dollars invested in this parish. This project really is twofold. For the aviation industry and for that community, we're supporting the state aviation system. We're bringing a new airport on board that meets the demand of aviation and strengthens the aviation service for all the things we said, emergency response, better transportation, whatever it may be. But really for Livingston Parish, this is not really a transportation project. This is an economic development project. Because for most of us, this has more to do about dollars staying here than necessarily the convenience of travel.
Yeah. I love it. It's a great point. And you know what, people, and we'll leave you with this. When you have infrastructure issues that you're trying to fix and certain things about your community that you're trying to fix relative to that, it requires money, and those money can only be generated certain ways. And one of those ways that to me is almost flawless. I mean, it's hard to find a negative is what you're doing right now and what is going to take fruition here in Livingston Parish, barring some unforeseen event. And that's a beautiful thing. And I thank you for your hard work on it. I cannot imagine how hard that was. You make it look easy, but I know better. I know that behind the scenes, I look at something like that and there's red tape everywhere. The wheels of government turn, but they turn very, very slow, as we all know.
The speed of government. But when you can see the potential, Jim, it's not hard. It really isn't. Because if you just look beyond the hill, you see the horizon. And that's where we are with this project. I do want to say this. As we have moved forward on this project, not at any time has this project ever taken away from any other infrastructure project in this parish. Never. Yeah. So much of the funding for this is uniquely for aviation. It can only be spent for aviation. And then, as I mentioned, this is more an economic investment project than even a transportation project when you look at the state.
Sure.
The state looks at this and says, hey, this is something that benefits Livingston, not just Livingston. It benefits the I-12 corridor, it benefits the entire region, and it benefits the Louisiana state aviation system. So when they have invested in us, they've invested in us as part of something even bigger than us.
Yeah.
About generating a stronger economy for this area. So, again, I think it's very important to know that. And I think as people really begin to see and learn about the potential, you get excited. You get excited.
You really do. And
you stick with it.
And you stick with it.
And you do
That's
it.
Right. Yeah. That's right. And so before we get out of here, I do have one announcement. Upcoming is going to be Inside LSU Ladies Basketball with Jim Chapman and Delia Taylor. So look for that.
Definitely.
We'll entertain you for hours.
Oh, definitely.
talking about them Lady Tigers. But thank you for coming on and sharing that with us. Thank you for your service and your hard work on this project and many other projects. And of course, you're married to the one and only Jeff Taylor, who sits in here often and also serves this community well. So thank you to both of y'all and to you for this. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Jim.
Anytime you want to come back, feel free.
That's it. And we'll definitely talk basketball.
Yes, definitely. And until next time, I'm Jim Chapman reminding you, love your community, support local business, and keep leading. Thanks.